Welcome back. All right, have you ever meant to do something, but you kept putting it off because other things just were popping up? Happens all the time to all of us, but have you ever put something off for 56 years? Well, one local veteran did, but finally got around to what he had been meaning to do all that time, and a new friendship has formed as a result. Here's Dave McKinley in this Two on Your Side original.
He's 76 now and walks with difficulty. But as a much younger man, in a much different time, Jim Chadwick walked plenty along a path of constant danger.
I'm blessed to be alive, to say the least.
He was part of a special unit of the Marine Corps in Vietnam called the Scout Dogs.
My job was walking 40 to 90 yards in front of patrols to try to keep them from walking into ambushes with a dog.
Jim came home with a chest full of medals and a body full of war.
I spent some time in a field hospital, and I was recovering from that. It was a grenade.
Days after being released and returned to his unit in December 1966,
my face was still swollen from the shrapnel.
His lieutenant brought his mail. Among the pieces was this.
It says, "Dear James, we have a Christmas tree."
It was a handwritten Christmas card from a 9-year-old boy who was a 4th grader at what was at the time the Mill Road School in the West Seneca hamlet of Ebenezer.
And it touched my heart. You know, the little kid would take the time to do that and color in everything that he colored in. And I seriously wanted to write him and thank him.
A plan he would think about pursuing from time to time over the years, interrupted by career and family and life itself.
And I never ended up writing them, and so I felt bad about that.
Recently, though, the card fell out of the family Bible where he'd kept it, reminding him again of the unfinished task he'd been meaning to complete for nearly 60 years.
So I'm reading the card, and I thought to myself, you know, I ought to try to get a hold of this guy and see if he's still around and thank him for the card.
What do you think was the difference between this time when you looked at it and said, I got to get a hold of this guy, and all the other times you might have thought to do that?
Yeah. Personally, I think it was the Lord tapping me on the shoulder, going, you know, why don't you talk to this kid?
Some divine intervention, perhaps, with an assist from modern technology.
I looked him up on the internet, and he was the first name that popped up.
Just a half-mile from the old school where he attended 4th grade lives now 64-year-old Todd Paul, who barely recalled sending that card until his wife heard a message on their answering machine.
I was outside, and Kathy called me in. She goes, "You got to listen to this."
My name is Jim Chadwick, and I'm looking for a Todd Paul. As a young man, he wrote me a Christmas card when I was in Vietnam.
I was floored. Absolutely floored.
And truth be told, if you put that card in front of him now, he'd be unable to read it without assistance.
I was 9 when I wrote the letter, but when I was 12, I lost a good portion of my sight due to an ear infection.
Legally blind since then, he went on to become a mechanic and later a special education teacher, helping others with disabilities.
Things happen for a reason. I don't know why, but I do know how.
That is a phrase he used more than once during our interview, so we asked him about it.
We are deeply rooted in our faith and put our trust in God. And, you know, there's, we know how he's doing it, but we don't know why.
And he believes it had a lot to do with bringing these two together now, because in his retirement, Todd continues to use his skills to refurbish equipment that others with disabilities can use.
And after going through them, putting new batteries in, making sure that they're solid, then we try to put them back out to repurpose them.
And it turns out that Jim, who had a stroke a couple of years ago, and his son Jimmy, who became disabled in a car wreck in 1994, could both use some of the expertise Todd has developed over his lifetime of helping others, which he looks forward to extending soon.
It's going to be quite a reunion.
My God, I said, first you send me a Christmas card when you're 9 years old. Now I'm going to get a wheelchair from you.
I think there's going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a bear hug, I'm sure, bro hug, however you want to call it.
A chest full of medals, a body full of war, a letter now answered, a friendship now forged.
And we don't know why, but we know how.
Got it.
Well, the two have not yet met in person. They've exchanged phone calls, they've talked to each other. They say they do plan to meet soon enough when they get to it. Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.